tonight so folks can tune in and catch up. But I'm excited to have everybody here today. We have a full agenda as always, and we'll start with reports from state legislators and then local Anchorage reports. And then we have the SCC board elections. So we'll talk about just electing positions for our community council itself. We'll have a discussion about a cannabis proposal, business for Spenard. And then we'll also talk about a local park issue at Northwood Park. And then we have community announcements at the end where folks can introduce yourself, especially if it's one of your first meetings. If you have issues that you're interested in engaging on and just want to share and find others who are interested, we'll do community announcements at the end as well. So that's my overview. And as I'll also just share my screen so that we can talk about our agenda and our minutes. And I'm just going to do another refresher that if you go to our website, all of our meeting information is posted there, as well as links to the quick ways to get to our agenda, our minutes, meeting handouts, and a draft document that we're going to be considering tonight. All of these links go to different sections along our right menu bar, so you'll get familiar with it. But I just went over our agenda for tonight, and we've had our January minutes posted for the past month. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is the agenda and the minutes?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thanks, Tom. Do I have a second?
This is Peggy, I second.
Thanks, Peggy. Any questions or anything to change or add to the documents? No? Okay, so hearing none, I'm going to just briefly introduce our current executive board and guests, and then I'm going to turn it over to Peggy for a moment. Peggy, speaking of Peggy, can wave, serves as an auditor for our council. So does Julie Leonard. She also serves as an auditor, and Tani Sakarichia is an auditor. We have 3 positions. And then we have Meg Milkey, who serves as our secretary, taking all of the notes. So just a reminder to please change your name on your screen to your first and last name so that we can keep track of attendance. We also have Irene Person-Gamble, who serves as vice president. And Irina Filipinko is our treasurer, and she's sick, so she can't make it tonight. And that's our executive board. We have lots of different elected officials that will be giving announcements, so I won't go through the list there. But I'll turn it over to Peggy for just a couple minutes to ground us today.
Thank you, Lindsay. I contacted our executive board last week when the Holocaust Remembrance Day memorandum came before the Anchorage Assembly, right after there was some pretty disturbing anti-Semitic license plates and kind of rumblings in our community. And the reason that we decided to say something is these are our friends, our neighbors, our leaders, our supporters. These are the people that live amongst us. And what we're asking for is kindness and compassion for people in our community, and to remember that we are all one and we are stronger as one. And especially as we go into Black History Month, that it's important for us to remember all the contributions that our Black neighbors and friends and leaders have brought to our communities and to the country. So we don't have the memorandum. It was not adopted that night last week, but we do want to show support. And we also want to say that there's no room in our community for anti-Semitic, any group in our community. And we feel very strongly about that. We are welcoming to everybody into our community council. And there's a place for everyone. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. And And we're going to go into Black History Month and celebrate that. So let's all be grateful for that. And thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy. Really appreciate it. Irene wanted to also speak.
Yeah, hi. On the note that Peggy just said, and I mentioned earlier in happy hour, last night there was a premiere showing in Anchorage at the Century Theater of a movie called Woman in Motion. And literally it was a blind date. My husband took me and said, I'm going to not tell you the title. Fantastic film about the documentary work of Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura on the original Star Trek. And my husband's a Trekkie, and when I married him, I didn't even know what it was. I was stunned last night. That movie is phenomenal. What she did with the support, she worked with NASA to make sure that women of color, men of color, and different ethnicities, Hispanic, African heritage, were included in the NASA astronaut kind of recruitment. She worked for 4 months, and this documentary about her is phenomenal. So I found out that it's not being shown anymore. It was just like last night premiere, but keep your ears and eyes open for Women in Motion. It's just amazing and a great start, I thought, to Black History Month and to everybody. If you're a Trekkie particularly, you'll love it. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Irene. So we'll move into our legislative reports. We kicked our legislative season off back in December, where we invited all of our 6 elected officials, and each month we're trying to at least have 2 folks to share updates. This month we have Senator Elvie Gray Jackson as well as Senator Mia Costello joining us, and it looks like Representative Harriet Drummond is here as well. So I'll turn things over in that order to Senator Gray Jackson. And you're still muted, Senator.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be here. So thank you very much for having us. And I understand what it's like to have all 6 of us at one time. Anyway, Black History Month. If you go to my Senator Elvie page, you can hear my floor speech that happened today around 12:40. We were still in session. But anyway, during the 2019 legislative session, SB 40 established the month of February as Black History Month. And what an honor it is to have this recognition permanently in state statutes. We celebrate this month by remembering the achievements and inventions of African Americans who made a difference in U.S. history. For example, Otis Boykin's work on electrical resistors. He made possible the steady workings of a variety of electronic devices. Variations of his resistor models are used around the world today in televisions, computers, and radios. And most notably, however, his work enabled control functions for the first successful implantable pacemaker. Organization, the 32nd legislative session, Senate is underway and organized with a Republican majority, but we were hopeful that a bipartisan majority would be convened, but we look forward to working together on behalf of all of our constituents, and we are. My legislation that has been introduced this session, Turning Pain into Progress, also known as TPIP bills. These bills represent proposed public safety policy changes with the purpose of making much needed reforms within the public safety sector. SB 1 in regard to chokehold bans, SB 2 requiring de-escalation, SB 3 requiring an oral warning, SB 4 prohibit shooting at a moving vehicle, SB 5 making Juneteenth a paid holiday, SB 7 requiring public access to policies, SB 46 law enforcement registry, and then SB 47 vehicle registration for persons with disabilities. So let me go back to the Turning Pain into Progress bills, public safety policy changes, also known as police reform. But I was working on these bills just about all summer, and really pleased that Senator Begich is a co-sponsor, and his chief of staff, my chief of staff, and my other staffer worked together with us, and we did our homework. We had the bills drafted, and then we sent the bills to APD APDA, PSEA, and Noble. And for those who don't know what Noble is the National Organization of Black Executive Law Enforcement Officers. Anyway, we had them review the bills, and then we met with each agency separately and got feedback, and we were able to implement or include the feedback that we got from each of these agencies in the bills. We had legal redraft the bills. It's a package that everybody could agree on. And in addition to that, we had a PowerPoint presentation that was presented with other stakeholders within the community. Committees. I'm on the Community and Regional Affairs and the Labor and Commerce Committees once again, and I'm happy that I'm on those committees again because I like those committees. I enjoy being on them, and they're relevant to me representing folks in Anchorage. And I'm also the Ethics Committee alternate. Session goals. The Minority Caucus, 6 Democrats, our collective goals are: number 1, protecting safe and healthy communities; number 2, strengthening public education; number 3, recovering Alaska's economy. And if you want to stay informed, most of you probably know how to stay informed, but you can tune into the Capitol happenings by watching Gavel to Gavel, and my Senator LB Facebook page and Twitter pages, and of course, my monthly newsletters. And if you aren't getting my monthly newsletters, please send an email to me or one of my staffers, and we'll put you in the database so that you can receive our monthly newsletters, because I have to say they're really, I'm enjoying reading my newsletters after we draft them, because they're very informative and not long and drawn out, but just, get to the point and talk about things that help and inform our community. With that said, thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And then I'm going to go to my other community council, university.
Thank you. I don't see any questions in the chat. Is there anyone who wants to ask one briefly? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Senator Costello.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening,
Okay.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Senator Costello, welcome. I saw
Thank you
earlier. Oh, there you go.
Yes. Thank you, Lindsay. I actually was muted before, but enjoyed listening to the conversation about how important it is to have the access to each other during this time that, in other ways that we're not seeing each other face to face. But so I really appreciate having the opportunity to call into the Community Council tonight. I did want to also talk about Black History Month that we passed last session, sponsored by Senator Gray Jackson. And today on the Senate floor, she had a special order about Black History Month. And immediately after she gave it, I sent her a note and I asked her to send her remarks to my office so that I could post her remarks on my Facebook page. So if you're not following my Senate Facebook page, please do, and you can see her remarks. I mean, they were absolutely wonderful, and she did a great job talking about the life and contributions of Harriet Tubman. So I encourage everybody, to go and to read her comments, and also apparently she posted the video on her Facebook page. So between the two of those, I think it's really worthwhile to take a moment and just listen to that. So I appreciated that she did that. I am serving as the majority whip, which is a position in leadership, which is not always offered, but they wanted me to be a part of the conversations, from a leadership level, which I appreciate. I'm going to be chairing the Labor and Commerce Committee. And then I'm also a member of the State Affairs Committee and the Health and Social Services Committee. And I really appreciate being on those two committees. The Labor and Commerce Committee is going to start meeting next week. And we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1:30 to 3. On Thursday evening, we post the bills that we'll be hearing. And so you can participate. We will have public testimony on every single bill that we
We might have just lost you, or maybe your mute got hit.
encourage folks.
There we
And
go.
also disaster declaration. Can you hear me?
We couldn't for just a minute, so if you could just.
Okay, I think somebody called me.
Mhm.
So I'm hearing the voting integrity bill and state affairs, and then the governor's disaster declaration, which is in the Health and Social Services Committee. That bill is Senate Bill 56. There's an app that you can download on your phone for the Alaska legislature. And if you're interested in any specific bill, you can plug in the bill number and you will be given updates when that bill has a hearing or is moved from one committee to the next. From what I can tell regarding the disaster declaration bill, it deals with items that we can do without declaring a disaster. So we're still hearing the bill from the administration on that. It deals with telemedicine, procurement, nonprofits, and vaccine distribution. So we will be trying to, parse out all the different things in that bill. And I encourage anyone who's interested in following it. It's Senate Bill 56. And then in addition, in addition to that, the Senate is meeting on the floor. We passed a bill today. It's actually a resolution which will allow the legislature to meet online if we are not able to meet in person. So I really felt that was important to get that out and done, because if for whatever reason related to COVID, if we had to meet, online, we can actually do that now. And with that, I just, wanted to say that I'm spending my days talking to folks who call my office. And I'll be having Facebook Zoom meetings, and then my e-newsletter is available for folks. And I wanted to give out my office number, which is a local Anchorage number. It's forwarded to Juneau, and that number is 269-0117. And, I love hearing from everyone. I really am honored to be representing you in Juneau in the Senate, and wanted to just open it up for questions. Oh,
Great.
somebody's asking about the name of the app. So if you go into your app store, you search Alaska State Legislature, and it's a blue app with, I think, yellow on it. So you can tell that it's Alaska. But if anyone has trouble, I can actually post on my Facebook page tomorrow a picture of what that looks like. But thanks for asking.
Great, thank you. Any
Yeah.
questions? I see one question from Peggy.
Okay.
Yes, Mia, this is Peggy Oth, and one thing that I have been following on recently is that the municipality of Anchorage wants to move their snow dump from its current location, and there's two other sites that they're looking at, and I know that we were told about the one site and not the other one. My concern is, we have John and we have other representatives from the airport come and do presentations. I cannot figure out, I know that there are bad feelings between the municipality and the airport about the Connors Bog / lake area. It's actually airport property. I understand that. But right now, we just took on a bond that would relocate the municipal snow dump at a time where the municipality really can't take another hit financially. And we're talking about moving a snow dump basically like right behind the current snow dump. So it seems like it would be in the best interest of both parties for the airport to make money off of the lease agreement with the municipality to store snow, and for the municipality to not incur the additional costs to move a snow dump literally right behind the current snow dump. And as a state official, I'm asking you and other state officials that can't you guys just bring the people to the table and say, can't we work this out so that we can keep the current snow dump and we can keep the $460,000 that's being allocated for this bond, and just keep it where it is. And then the airport gets the lease agreement monies, the municipality gets the advantage of not spending monies to move a snow dump. Would you be willing to talk to the Department of Transportation about this?
Peggy, yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy. Tomorrow I can get on the phone and do what you asked, which is basically get the folks to the table. And I certainly would be happy to do that. And I've done that in the past about other issues. And over the time that I've served, I've actually heard and seen firsthand the need for better communication between the community and the airport. And that to me is kind of a cornerstone of something that we can actually try to improve. And so I've actually drafted legislation. I haven't introduced it yet, but I have a draft of legislation that would create a community board that would be made up of members from all of the community councils around the airport, plus some other individuals that then would not advise the airport, but be in direct communication. Because as I've mentioned, I've seen the airport members come to the community councils and they're communicating in that way, but there seems to be overall a need for even more of that. And so I've thought about this, and that's, one of the suggestions is to come up with a panel that actually is named by the community councils, where they would send a representative to sit down and be there face to face with, with the airport. Because these kinds of issues, it seems to me, and I think we're on the same page, as long as you get the folks in the room and hash out the issues, a lot of times, you can avoid some of these situations that may not make a lot of sense, and you're not sure why one entity is acting the way they are or whatever. So yeah, I can definitely do that. Tomorrow my office will reach out to DOT. We can reach out to the Muni. We can involve you if you'd like, and the head of the community council, Lindsay, or whomever we think is appropriate. So I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I would be really happy if I could be included on that, Mia, and I appreciate you being willing to do that, because I think we could save almost $500,000. And if we could just bring people to the table and have them work this out.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. I see Tani has a question, but I'm going to turn it over to Representative Drummond really quickly, and then we'll have time for the one question from Tani.
Yeah,
Thank you, Senator Costello.
Thank you, Lindsay. I just wanted to tag team with Senator Costello. When Matt Clayman and I were assembly members representing your district and all of West Anchorage, Matt created an airport communications committee. I forget exactly what he called it, but we met regularly in the terminal building where the offices are up on the 4th floor. And I believe there were representatives from the surrounding community councils. It may not have been the chairs, but there was a representative from each community. And I'm pretty sure that John Johansson was involved. And I think it's great to bring that back. I always, the airport is territorial, but it's, the way I see it geographically, I know we were talking about geographic connections in Alaska and all of that stuff and how Zoom makes it easier, but Anchorage and the airport are located on this peninsula where there's water on 2 sides and mountains on the 3rd side and nowhere to expand to. So we have to work together in order to operate successfully on this peninsula that is the municipality of Anchorage. So I think it's a great idea to bring that back. I don't have much of a report because the House is not organized. I am really looking, we are watching the organized Senate's committee meetings with great interest, and the kind of thing that Senator Costello just mentioned, the voting remotely bill, the Senate has passed it, but until the House passes it, the whole legislature can't really meet remotely. I don't know if the Senate can meet remotely by itself, but we are a bicameral legislature, and both houses have to pass a bill like that changes the way we operate. And it's really important. If we get, thank God, knock wood, we've had exactly one case of COVID in the Capitol complex. And that was before most of the legislators arrived earlier in January. And we're getting tested every 4 or 5 days. We get cleared every day to enter the building. But not having the public present, not having lobbyists present, means that we can be more efficient in our work. That's what I found last year. But I'm looking forward to getting organized so that I will know which committees I'm on and, get bills proceeding. We've got to catch up to the health directive that the governor is trying to pass. And we can't do that until the House is in session and we can approve, have our committees meeting and just tearing into all of those issues. So that's all I've got.
Great, thank you, Representative Drummond.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the time, and Tani, I don't think we have time for your question, and I'm going to keep us moving. But folks can still put questions into the chat or follow up with our officials after this. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to move us into our local reports and start with our Assembly Representative, Cameron Perez-Verdia. Welcome.
Hi, thanks everyone. It's good to see you. And just on the note of the airport, yeah, I just put a chat in there for Mia. I would love to be involved too. So if there's something that I can do to help to bridge that, that would be great. Lots of things to report. I'll try to move pretty quickly through it. And then I'm open for questions as well. As most of you probably know, February 1st, emergency order number 18 was put into place, which strategically eases restrictions on certain hard hit sectors and activities, which is keeping limits in place to prevent the virus from returning at extremely high levels. The order goes into effect, as I said, for February 1st. And there's a lot more information on the documents. I've been trying to forward, we have weekly updates now coming out, and I've been trying to forward those to Lindsay, and so she can get those out on a regular basis. We usually get them Monday or Tuesday, so hopefully that'll allow more frequent communication about updates from the Assembly. Also, there's two relatively new documents that I attached as well. One of them is a health risk metrics, and so this should have gone out as well. And then there's another one that's now called Anchorage Roadmap to Recovery. This is specifically sort of targeting restaurants and bars, entertainment, indoor gyms and fitness centers, organized sports, retail, personal care, childcare, a variety of things to sort of give folks a sense of, based on the threat level, sort of where are the ratings of all of that. Let's see, let me go through a few more things here. In terms of CARES Act funds, see here. So the rent and mortgage relief utility assistance, at this point, 22.2 million has been spent. United Way is pausing its application since the previously allocated rent relief funding has already been committed. We know that we're going to be receiving an additional $35 million from the federal government specifically for housing relief. And that's going to come directly to the municipality, not through the state. In the information that I sent out, there is more information about the requirements around that. It's much stricter than what was previously received. For instance, it only will go to people who are renting. It won't go to homeowners, and there's a whole bunch of different requirements in terms of your ability to qualify for it. That concern, especially around it not being available to homeowners, is a concern of ours as well. And there's been a lot of pushback on that to the Department of Treasury. And so many states are working on that as well. But the good news is more is coming for rental relief, and that's going to, the process of getting that out is going to happen very, very soon. Tourism relief, the municipality of Anchorage began accepting applications for the tourism grant program on February 3rd. This program, it has 3 tiers of grants, 10,000, 25,000, and 50,000. And it goes to a variety of different businesses and organizations that primarily rely on visitation to the community. So there's an online application for that, and that information is in the report that I sent as well. Hospitality relief, the grants from Alaska Char and Alaska Hospitality retailers during the first round of funding, they automatically receive a second round. And so those payments will be equivalent to the original grants. And those those are going out in a variety of ways, but the completed distribution, all of round 2 payments go to tier C, which are the hospitality businesses without a liquor license. And then Alaska Char distributed about 2 rounds of payments to tiers A and B and C, so the ones with and without. Small businesses, nonprofit, individual artist grants, just an update on that. Those have all been distributed at this point, and it continues to fund the wait list on that as we can. And in terms of childcare, the full 10 million has been allocated at this point, so there's no further update on that. Let's see. A few other things, property acquisitions. There's no update at this point in terms of new potential properties. As you know from my last report, both the Alaska Club site and the America's Best are no longer being considered, and they're looking for new sites in the same area for those. Last time I was here, we talked about the West Side seat. And so essentially what happened was that 2 members of the assembly, Allard and Kennedy, brought forth a resolution. That resolution essentially created a temporary one-time fix that would fill that seat just for this time, but didn't affect the code, didn't affect the language of the code at all. And then the ordinance that I brought forward that we discussed would actually add language to the code to create a process to fill a seat in this particular case. Both of those, the ordinance and the resolution, were postponed indefinitely, which essentially means that they're dead. And the reason for that was that after a great deal of discussion with both the community at large and also the municipal attorney, and we had a work session about it, it was pretty much agreed between member Allard, Kennedy, and I that the legal risk at this point was too high, and that we felt like that both plans really needed to go back to the drawing board and start again to figure out a different plan to move forward. So I have a commitment from member Kennedy to meet on Friday, and we're going to begin again to work with the municipal attorney and the assembly attorney to try to identify a solution now. But it's clear that we need to be looking at two things. One is potential change in the code to address this special election issues that we have. And so I'm working with another member to bring forth some new language in our code that could address some of the ambiguities around when and how special elections are called. And then the next piece long-term is really to potentially look at the charter change, because the charter, as it relates to this particular situation where you have a mayor stepping down and an assembly chair temporarily filling that seat, it really does not speak one way or the other to how to address that. And so if we want to have clear direction in the future on that, then we potentially might need to go to some language change in our charter, which is a big deal to do that. So that's sort of the update on that. I'm going to be working on a short-term solution and then long-term solutions as well. 3 more things real quick. I know I'm running out of time. There's an effort to go what they're calling EOs to AOs. So there's a work session on this on Friday at 11 a.m. And it's essentially taking a number of the emergency orders and moving them into ordinances. And so the theory behind this, I wasn't involved in the development of it, but the theory behind it is that when we, and if we soon end the emergency order, there still may need to be some pieces in place to manage the health threat. And so we're going to be debating this on Friday. I've already received a lot of emails on it and had lots of conversations with people who are both concerned about it and people who think it's a good idea. So more to come on that, but if you're interested in involving yourself in that conversation, certainly tune into the work session on Friday. And I'd love to hear from you as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and where you are with that. Last thing on my list is body cameras technology for police. I mentioned this last time. we absolutely need the technology for our police force, and there's a high sort of desire to move into body cameras. I think there's pretty much universal support for that at the assembly, but the question was whether we put it to the voters or we try to fund it internally. So after a lot of discussion, we are going to put that to the voters as a special levy. But in addition to that, we allocated $250,000 to and a commitment to make sure that this is something that we prioritize moving forward. So it was kind of a both and. I think that's all that's on my list. Sorry, I took probably a little bit more time than I am supposed to, Lindsay, but I'm open for questions. And I would just last say that even though I'm a one-person show these days without Austin around, I really appreciate all the emails and all the phone calls, and we're doing our best to get back to everyone as fast as we can. We're writing emails every single day and answering the phone and trying to call folks back. So I appreciate your patience with that, but don't hesitate to call me or email me, because that's my job, to make sure that I'm there to answer questions and to do anything I can to help. So that's it.
Great. Thanks, Cameron. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or hands raised. We've got one from Tawny, and we'll just have time for one, and then we'll move on to next reports.
Yep. My question is also related to something coming up later. It's, is there a conversation that's going to be taking place soon, or that's on your radar, about the number of cannabis licensees that are in certain districts? Specifically, I ran very quick numbers the other day, and in Spenard, in District 3, there are 36.5 licensees, and that includes the ones that hold multiple ones. In the Midtown district, there are 46. In District 5, Dunbar, Peterson, there are 6. Weddleton has 3.5 in Anchorage and 3 in Girdwood. Constant has 24, and Kennedy Allard have 0.
Mm.
And it feels, if you look at the map, which if I hold it up, there's a green streak through this map, and it is in Spenard, and it is in Midtown and downtown. And it feels really, I know that we have another person who is Green Degree. They're looking to get their cannabis license approved, fair enough. But this is like an ongoing concern. In 2019, when I last kind of brought this up, there were 20 licenses in Spenard, and now there's 36.5. Wow. And that seems like a pretty big jump for a year, when Kennedy and Allard still have 0 in their entire district. It would be really great if this came to your attention and was something that maybe could be discussed. And I'm happy to have a phone call with you more and show you the maps and my rough counts at another point. But I just wanted to bring that up to your concern, to your attention.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it. And just as a quick response, I remember when you brought it up in 2019, and I was concerned about it then as well, and brought it up with a number of members. So thank you for putting it back on my radar. I will make sure that it's on my list of things to discuss with some of the members. And actually, it would be great for you and I to talk about it as well, so that when I talk to them, I have the data and the information you have. So if you could maybe send me an email, we can set up a time to chat over the phone.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. And there's a nice comment in the chat from Anna, just that this is a zoning issue. You can't have cannabis in Eagle River Chugach because it's a zoning issue. But we have a cannabis committee that needs to be reinvigorated. Currently, as a council, we don't have a position on limiting the numbers or anything like that. But that's been a live question since this came up. Thank you, Cameron. I'm going to turn it over and welcome Star Marset to give us our school board report. There's school now in person. There has been school for a long time.
There is. We started with our K through and preschool through second graders. And this last week on the 1st, we started some schools. I think there's about 10 schools that asked to have their 3rd through 6th graders come back. They said they were ready. The rest of them will go back to school on the 8th. We also last month had a low percentage of our middle school and high school students come back that were needing extra help, that weren't doing very well online. I actually visited 10 of those schools a couple of weeks ago, the first and second week that they were in session, and was very happy with what I saw. I saw not smiling faces, but I saw smiling eyes. just to reinforce that mask. And teachers were so happy to see their students back. So I think it's been a good move. I will caution that there have been a couple of classrooms that have gone into quarantine, if you want, for 10 days. The news media is reporting those as actual COVID cases in the classroom. That is not true. There has not been any COVID cases in the classroom. What has happened is our parents are doing what we're asking them to do, and they're reporting anything within their family or any contact or anything like that. And if our students have had contact with that, we are shutting the classrooms down for the 10 days and asking for testing. So our mitigation is working, and hopefully we'll have high school and middle school students back into school after the spring break in March. So I wanted to throw that out there. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about our budget. Our budget will be going to the assembly the first Monday in March. And we were looking at a $28 million deficit. We've been able to, because of ESSER funds, these are funds that we've gotten to help us get through the COVID and get schools open. We've been able to move 26.5 million, and those are teacher salaries under the grant for year 21 and 22. We're expecting about 75% of our students that left to come back, so that will raise our student count. You know, with the economy the way it is, not as concerned about this next year, but 22, 23 could be a whole different story for us, because we are using these funds to operate our classrooms and to keep teachers in the classroom. So we've had a decrease in federal and state funding. And because of that, it also decreases our funding that's allocated through the muni, because they are only able to give us so much of what the state gives us. So based on that, once it's approved in April or May, of course, the legislative is looking at approving the budget early. We'll see. April and May, depending on revenue projected from the state and how many students come back, there could be a revision to the budget. So that is where we are. It sounds very simple, but there's a lot going on.
There is. Thank you. I'm just seeing in the chat, you know, it's a tough time, and kids are happy that they can have some social time and get together to learn. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Star. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Great. And up next is John Johansson with our airport update. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me. I have very little to update. Our Anchorage Airport update is on our website at anchorageairport.com. The only new thing on there is we've announced some additional service this summer. Alaska Airlines is having direct service to Las Vegas, Denver, and San Francisco. So if you're interested, I'm sure they have those flights posted on their website now. We're also expecting Eurowings and Condor flying to Germany to come back, and possibly Air Canada. And there's also possible talk of Iceland Air coming back, but everything's a little bit up in the air right now, although most of the airlines, based on their scheduling, seem to be fairly optimistic about a busy summer. So we're spending a fair bit of time trying to figure out how we're going to accommodate a fairly busy summer while still achieving some social distancing. So we're a little concerned about that and working with DHSS on that. I don't have anything else. Lindsay, if you'd like me to talk a little bit about the snow dump and the airport communications, I can, or we can table that for another time.
If you can briefly, I think that would be helpful. And if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Okay, I'm not an expert on the snow dump. I know we offered to the Muni to lease it to them at fair market value for an extended period so that they could amortize any investment that DEC is requiring they put into the snow dump for stormwater runoff issues. And my understanding is they didn't want to pay the appraised rate. I'm not sure of that. We have to charge fair market value, not what somebody may perceive as the value as a snow dump, but what the market might bring on that property, and being highway frontage and relatively upland there where the snow dump is, it's fairly valuable property. FAA requires that we charge fair market value for non-aeronautical use of airport property. Airport communications, Matt Clayman, what he was working on was developing a communication plan for the airport that we incorporated into our master plan that we were working at the time. He was an assembly person and acting mayor. So we developed, with input from the surrounding community councils and participation from Matt, a airport communications plan, which we have posted on our website and which we are attempting to follow as best we can. And that discusses both communications with the community and the community communicating with us. And that's available on our website also. We ask for input every couple of years to see if there's things that community councils want to update on that. And periodically we make updates to that. But the committee was put together not for airport communications on a regular basis, but to develop this communication plan. And with that, I'll open it up to questions or comments.
Great, thank you, John. Looks like Peggy and Bob. And
Okay.
Also for people's reference, I put the link to the West Anchorage Snow Disposal Project that we're talking about. We've had a project manager on this come to our meetings before, so we've brought it up in the past.
I just want to affirm what John said, is that there was the communications committee that was created. I was actually the Spenard representative on that communications committee, along with a representative from Turnagain and Sand Lake. And it was to create a communications plan. And the reason why John is here every month is one of the results of that plan. But it wasn't to advise the airport, and it wasn't a policy making body at all. It was at a very kind of narrow scope, so it wouldn't have been able to address some of these other issues. But it did do a good job for what it was set out to do, and so we do have regular communication with the airport, which I think was a huge improvement over what was going on in the past.
And just to clarify, we've changed the name of that from a airport communications plan to a public outreach plan, because we're part of DOT, and DOT already had a communications plan, and that's what they referred to it as. So we retitled this public outreach plan. So if you go to the website, that's what it's called.
Great, thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna keep us rolling. And we have our Spenard Executive Board elections this month. And so what we're going to do is give some brief statements for folks that are running. And we have a ballot that we created. It's the same format that we've been voting on different resolutions and things in the past since we've been on Zoom. So it's our tried and true method. But just a couple notes about running for office and for voting. So in order to be able to run for office or vote on our elections, you have to have a residence or a business within the Spenard Community Council boundaries. And you have to have attended one meeting in the past year, so in the past 12 months. And with Zoom, our attendance has been difficult and different. So the way that we've set up our ballot form is that we have everybody listed as, that we know of that are current members. And that's from a drop-down screen. And then there are a number of folks who have been showing up in the past 12 months, but we don't have your address written down on a piece of paper. So you might have to type yours in so that we can verify your membership and your voting membership. So we have to check a couple things. We have to check your address, and we have to check if you've attended once in the past year. So it's a little tricky, but we're going to do our best and do that by Zoom. Usually we have a really large spreadsheet printed out. So we're going to do our best, but you have to meet both of those requirements to run for office and to vote. Any questions on that? I know that there are a number of folks who are visitors, like Anna just wrote in the chat. If you're a guest to our council, totally fine, you're welcome here. But we ask that you don't vote, because that's an easy way for you to know that you're not a voting member. So again, live or have a business property within the Spenard Community Council boundaries, attended one meeting in the last year. So with that, we have, our elections are never cutthroat, but we have a few folks up for the auditor position. So we'll mostly want to think about that piece of it. We can have up to 3 auditors, and we've got 5 folks that are interested, which is great. The more people interested in participating and engaging, the better. And I'm going to just start very briefly with my 2-second long candidate pitch for president. It's been a really interesting and strange year serving for everybody virtually, but I feel like I've still been able to try to create a welcoming environment and to have productive meetings. People know me as a timekeeper, but I'm really trying to just honor everybody's time and commitment and make sure that we're moving forward on different projects and activities. So I hope that I can continue serving for 1 more year. There's only 1 more year, because then I term out, which is ideal. So that's my pitch, and I'm going to turn it over to Irene to share why she'd like to serve as vice president. Irene is muted. And while we're talking, I'm seeing questions in the chat. I will put in the Google form so you can follow along and vote and type in any questions you have to me, feel free. But I'm going to put the link into the chat box. But with that, Irene, go ahead.
I think I unmuted. Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I have been involved for quite a few years, and finally started moving into the positions of secretary, which I did for a couple of years, and now I've done vice president for a couple of years. I'm personally not up to the level of vice or a full president, because I think Lindsay's doing an awesome job. She's quite a bit younger than me and has that tech savvy, which I'm still a little bit on the old-fashioned side. But I've lived in Spenard. I was born here in Anchorage, in Spenard, when that was an area, and it was before statehood. So, you know, I'm vintage. And I don't have any children, though I am a teacher, been a teacher. I'm a substitute teacher now. Just very involved, because I kind of feel like my home life is my community. And yeah, I'm a child of immigrants, so I kind of have a little bit of understanding of different places and different ways to do things. So even though I've lived in Spenard and I live in the home that my husband grew up in, so we haven't really moved along very much in that way. So I think I feel like I'm as solid of a person and a candidate that represents this very special part of our city. So I'd be happy to serve also 1 more year, and appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Irene. I mentioned earlier, Arena is not here tonight. She's out sick, and Arena currently serves as our treasurer and is willing to serve again for the next year. So I'm going to give a pitch for her, which is easy to do because she's great. I don't know her actual job title, but my understanding is she works for the state of Alaska, and she serves as a financial crime investigator, which is probably the best job you can have, and be a treasurer for a nonprofit. And so I've always felt really trusting of her with her finances, and she's very committed to the community, has served on Spirit of Youth Board and many other organizations. So Arena is a great candidate for treasurer, And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Meg to give her spiel about serving as secretary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meg Melky, and I've been going to these meetings since 2016. I had to check that because it seems like it hasn't been that long, but I guess it has. But I've only been a part of the executive board for the past year. You probably, even when we were meeting in person, you probably didn't hear me speak very often. And I think that's because I came to these meetings to really learn and listen to my community members. And so that kind of worked pretty well with becoming the secretary and taking notes. I will attend these meetings and take notes, and I almost always watch the other recorded meeting again to make sure I keep a accurate record. That's how much I love these meetings, that I attend them twice. But even though I don't often speak, I do really value the work that I've done with my with everyone in this council, but especially the folks on this executive board, and who have created a space where I feel comfortable and safe sharing if I were to do that. And I really believe in community, and I want to continue serving in this role for the next year. And thank you all for being here and listening to me.
Great, thank you, Meg. And then the auditor positions, there are up to 3 of these positions, and I'm just going to go in alphabetical order by last name, and I'll turn it over to Peggy Oth to kick us off.
Thank you, Lindsay. My husband and I, Bob and I, have been members for almost 30 years, and Bob has been the chair on 3 different occasions for almost 6 years total. I was the secretary, the treasurer. I worked as a bookkeeper at a law firm with 45 employees. So, I feel like I'm good for that position. And I also am willing, and I think this is one thing I love about our present committee, everybody's willing to go the extra mile. We're not just meeting at executive committee meetings, but we also give up our time to reading the new plans, because they're always coming through, new road plans, new development plans, Chugach Way, meeting with developers. It can take a lot of time, but we're very dedicated. It's a great group of women, all women, which is fantastic, that we have now. And I would love to serve another year. So thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you, Peggy. And now I'll turn it over to Jared Dunbar.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Jared.
Hey, I'm kind of new to the our community council. I started going last year. Let me get my video going here. Sorry.
You have a little bit of an echo too, but it's mostly okay.
Oops. Nope, I'll fix that. Hold on. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so just a little bit about myself. I moved up to Alaska with my parents back in '91. I'm originally from Texas. I've lived here since then. So I went to school at Gladyswood Elementary, Mears, and then Diamond. We lived in this district for most of my daughter's childhood. She went to school at Lake Hood. She also Romig, and then West, where she graduated. I guess I'm kind of interested in running, I guess, as an auditor. I just want to be more involved, and I think with my community personally, I think some of what I've seen over the last year, I don't know, the whole, it's just been a lot of, there's been a lot of contrast, I guess. I don't know if it's just on a national level, but just disagreements and bickering, and a lot of at odds, I think, and that's really concerned me. I think something that I value is having dialogue and really talking about issues that from different walks of life. I don't know. I just want to be involved more in my community. I want to be involved more in the dialogue. I think an auditor is a great place to start and learn what's going on in the community, how the community council works. I think it's a great community council personally, with Lindsay, Irene, Peggy, and then the other auditors. So I think I live in the off of Jamestown and Independence Park. That's where I live currently. I used to live in the West District, and I have a rental property over there now. So I attend 2 different community councils, and I really enjoy this one. It's a little smaller.
He's gone. Jared, are you still there? Okay, he might have just hit something and is off. So put a pause on that, and I'll turn it over to Amber. Hopefully he can log back in. Amber Glasser, welcome.
Let's see, make sure I need to mute myself, getting all familiar with the technology. So hi everyone, my name is Amber Glasser, and I'm really excited for this opportunity. And I just want to, I don't want to take up too much time, so I'll get right to it. And I just want to share with you a little bit about my family. I moved to Alaska when I was in the 5th grade. I grew up on Woodland Park Drive, so right down the street from my house. And I'm still friends with many of the neighbors that still live on that street. So it's pretty amazing. My kids go to Aquarian Charter School right here in the neighborhood. My son is in 6th grade. My daughter's in 2nd grade. Like I was saying at the beginning of the meeting, you know, we went to school with Jay and his kids, so that was pretty awesome as well. My husband and I have owned our house on 36th for almost 14 years. I've worked in the hospitality industry for 22 years. I started at Lucky Wishbone when I was 15 and ended up at Simon and Seaforth's. And so I've currently been there for the last 12 years. I'm furloughed because of the pandemic, but hopeful that I'll get to go back soon. And, you know, we're staying positive. I'm running because of my love for this neighborhood and this beautiful city that I was lucky enough to grow up in. And I'm just going to close with this. My grandmother always told me to be the change you want to see. She also told me, do unto others as you want done unto you. I live my life based on these principles. I would love the opportunity to be part of the solution and contribute more to my community. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate it. And these meetings are run beautifully, and just everyone that loves Spenard, we're unique and special. And I really appreciate everyone getting out and making the effort. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amber. And I saw Jared come back on. Jared, if you want to just wrap things up with maybe a final word, you're welcome back on. You're still muted though. We can't hear you, Jared.
Okay, there I go. Yeah,
Yeah.
my iPad died earlier. So just quickly in ending, I do work on a slope, so I'm gone 2 weeks at a time. I can attend meetings remotely. But I guess just in a nutshell, I just want to be involved more. And I think it's a great place to start and a place to learn. So anything I can do to help, which is, I'm kind of a solution oriented guy. So if I can join as auditor and help somehow more than I'm doing currently, that'd be great. So that's it for me.
Great, thank you. I'll turn it over to Julie Leonard. Where are you, Julie? Oh, yellow wall. You're muted though. There you go.
Okay, I've lived in Spenard for a little over 20 years. I love the area. I'm very committed to Spenard and to the growth of Spenard, and just to see that our community just moves into the future in a very positive way that supports the community and the growth of our community. I love being on the council to be able to have a voice to help direct the positive direction of our community. I've been an auditor I started, I don't know, maybe a couple of years as an alternative auditor and now an auditor. I love being a part of the community. I love Spenard. I love the group that I'm working with right now. I love just being a part of everything. And I don't know what else to say. I could probably go on for about an hour. I live and breathe Spenard, but I'll turn it back over. But anyway, support, I would appreciate your support. And on another note, I want to say, hi, Jerry. I don't know where he is, but I saw him here. Hey, how are you? Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate your vote, and I love Spenard.
Great, thanks, Julie. And final auditor candidate is Tani Sakariccia. Welcome.
Hey everyone. So I just want to say that I really appreciate that I've been able to serve on the audit committee or on the executive committee as an auditor for 2 years now, and I hope to continue. I really enjoy being a part of kind of like the nitty gritty work that happens in the background on a monthly, sometimes weekly basis in making sure that our elected officials and both on the local level and statewide level are doing what they need to do to support us as a community. I also am really invested in making our neighborhoods safe and welcoming for all people who are in our wonderful city. And, you know, I've lived in Alaska for 23 years, and I just had to do the math, but out of those 23 years, I've actually lived in the Spenard district for 20 of them. And I've lived on Lois Drive, Oregon Drive, West 46th, and now at my home over by Barbara Street. So I've kind of roamed around the neighborhood, and so I can understand and appreciate a variety of the different issues that kind of come into our council. And I'm really dedicated. Whatever the results of the election are, I will keep showing up and doing my part to make sure that Spenard is a wonderful place to live and to work and to play for me and my dog.
Thanks, Tani. Okay, so I put the ballot in the chat. I'm going to put it there again, and you can go ahead and fill out your form. I think maybe Dennis or someone is still on with their phone call. And so what I just did was I added a link to our Spenard homepage on our website where you could click on a link to vote. So that's specifically for people at the meeting right now who aren't on Zoom, but you'll still need to go to a computer to get to the main website for the Spenard Community Council. I highlighted the link so you can vote. It's the best I can do. Okay, so go ahead and vote. I'll kind of try to track those as they come in, and towards the end of the meeting, I'll share the numbers. And while we do that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Jed Smith, our Cannabis Committee Chair, and Kirby Coleman, who has a proposal in for a cannabis license. And I'm gonna turn it over to both of them to figure out how to share this out. Jed's unmuted, so I'll go to Jed and then welcome Kirby.
Well, thanks. It's been a little while since we gave a Cannabis Committee report. It's been a long while since we had a Cannabis Committee meeting. But about a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, we had kind of established our practices of reviewing any new applications and directing them toward our neighborhood responsibility plan agreement. Welcome, Kirby. Thanks for coming. We assume you've had a chance to look over the agreement, which is pasted. I think there's a link to it in the agenda, and it's pasted on the Spenard Community Council's website. That notice was sent out to the committee members a few weeks ago, or whenever you first sent it across. We haven't had a chance to discuss it, so I'll just give you an opportunity to kind of give us all an idea of what you've got planned and what you've got in store. And then maybe if you want to field a couple of questions. Just to clarify for those of you who are new to the way we operate on these types of businesses, it's not our job to give an up or down vote on that. It's the Anchorage Assembly's responsibility to determine whether someone deserves a license. We just want to establish good communication practices with these new types of business owners. So without any further ado, welcome, Kirby. Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, beautiful people of Spenard. Appreciate you guys tonight. All in all, my name is Kirby Coleman. We put in for a cannabis license there at the iconic bar, Chilkoot Charlie's. We're actually gonna, ideally, the plan is to take over a portion of their bar, their swing bar. on the northernmost side of their bar. We would be taking roughly 1,300 square feet and making a retail cannabis store. A little bit of background on our business here. I live in Wasilla. My in-laws, they live in Anchorage. They actually own a business there, not far from Chillicoot Charlie's on Spenard. A little bit of background on our business, Green Degree. We have 3 retails out here in the valley and are looking to expand our market over into Anchorage. We are on the Marijuana Control Board agenda for a couple retails, one in Northway, which is a village along the Alaskan Highway. We have 4 years in experience with the cannabis industry, 3 operating legally, and haven't had any major issues. I know that I really commend you guys for having the neighborhood responsibility plan. We're really big activists within our own community. We have various things that we do. We do a coat drive for kids that are going back to school, raise funds. We were able to give out over 500 coats this last year for kids that are going back to school here within the Mat-Su Borough. We also do a Green Christmas, which is a fundraiser for local nonprofits of our choice that we decide to give a beneficiary to. So we're very engaged within our community. And I just wanted to say, actually welcome myself actually to the Spenard community. This is my first Spenard Community Council I've attended. I have attended many businesses on that side of town, and I love the area. And it was funny you guys were talking about that palm tree, because I was actually I was under the impression that I asked the auto shop that was in front there where it was stored, and asked him, actually tried calling TCC or CITC, and I was told that it was there. So I left a message with somebody that got my message about inquiring about purchasing that. So good to hear that that'll go back to good use. Aside from that, we have been in contact with some of the local businesses, letting them know, just building the conversation, letting them know that what our plans are. We haven't had any opposition thus far. I did know that there was a woman on here earlier. I'm not sure who she was. No disrespect in that saying that, but that the zoning issues, and that's one of the big things with Anchorage and the cannabis businesses, is that the way that the zoning is, it's really migrated us to certain areas, and Spenard just happens to be one of those areas that the zoning was a little bit more lax than other parts of Anchorage. Aside from that, I am thrilled to be engaging in this and bringing our brand into Anchorage. And with that, I'll open to the floor for any questions you guys might have. Oh, actually, did want to speak on one note that was something that we currently do. I came up with this idea pretty much immediately when I first saw the first piece of, I saw Pop Top, Mylar bag actually was there in the car's parking lot. It was something that some marijuana had been in. So I came with this idea to start a recycling program. And what that entails is pretty much consumers can bring us their cannabis trash. They can bring us their cartridges. They can bring us a roach. They can bring us Mylar bag, Pop Tops, whatever it is. And we actually go through and we recycle that stuff. We put the trash where it goes, make sure it ends up in a dedicated receptacle to go to the landfill, or if it's number 2 plastic, we recycle that. And the customers, they get a little bit reward for that too, a little point system. So it's part of my mitigation plan for the Spenard areas to just be a receptacle for all the marijuana trash, so it's not ending up in the wrong hands. So aside from that, I will open up to any questions you guys might have.
Yeah, thank you, Kirby. And the draft document that Jed mentioned is on our website, and I could share my screen, but I'll do that maybe after we all talk. But it is our kind of standard neighborhood responsibility plan, where we can list out any concerns, any issues we have. So part of this discussion, we might add some into that, but we have some already in place about engaging with the council, cooperating with law enforcement, those typical things, and Kirby was good with it. So, and then he also did add the trash recycling program that they'll do, and that they'll participate in a community cleanup at least once a year, which we often do for Fish Creek. So those are already in the document and part of our discussion we could add more to that as well and work on signing that agreement. There are a couple questions in the chat. One of them is if you've already been in front of the Assembly Economic Development Committee yet.
So we had, before I filed any licensing with AMCO, we did have a intro meeting with, not sure that that was the title of the entity that the meeting was held with. I am in full contact with all of the proper channels that I need to go. I'm doing this all on my own. I've always done all my own paperwork, so it's not an attorney. So this is just the what part of the beginning process here is I got to get in with the community, the local community council before I can. We are approved with the state of Alaska with AMCO, the Alcohol Marijuana Control Office. So I hope that that might answer the question. I don't know. I'm not sure that that has taken place yet.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to Amber. Looks like you have a question.
Yeah, I just want a little bit of clarification. So you have a facility is that right on 36? I can't think of the name of it. And then what I'm curious is so this new facility, it's going to be a part or an old portion of the Chilkoot Charlie's, and just, you know, I support the cannabis industry, and I love that you guys are getting connected and staying connected. I just wanted a little bit of clarification.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So maybe I might have misconstrued something. We don't currently have a business on 36. My in-laws have a business that they operate. It's not a cannabis business on Spenard. This will be our first entrance into the Anchorage market. We do have businesses out here in the valley. We have cultivation, manufacturing, and a couple retails.
Okay, got it.
Great, thank you. Another question, I think for Kirby. Pamela, I saw your question, but I'm going to kick that over to Jed in a minute. But for Kirby, Phil has a question about if there's conflict between selling pot on the site of a bar. So can you share more about that?
You bet. So there is within the way that Anchorage reads their code is that they cannot have direct, they can't be connecting entrance wise. So you can't walk directly from the bar into a retail marijuana store. So it would be right now you can there's double doors that go from the bar. Those will be enclosed. There will be no access directly from a bar to the retail store. So and the licenses can't overlap each other. So the premises of your physical license, where you're housing the marijuana store versus the bar, the liquor license, what all that surrounds, they can't overlap each other. So that won't there won't be that kind of conflict within our license, and that's it's already set that, you know, what portion is ours, what portion is the bars, and there can't be cross mingling between the two directly.
Okay, thank you. And Tawny has a question.
Yeah, I'd like to just follow up on that because that's a pretty big concern for me is your location choice. Chilkoot Charlie's has already had, I mean, it has a number of issues every year. I mean, I think it's been quiet because there hasn't really been open. But I mean, I guess it's a kind of a two-part question. One, do you plan to have hours of operation that go late into the night so that there would be an overlap in both bar patrons and cannabis retail patrons? And then two, I wish that our APD officer was on the line because I would like to ask him about the concerns about essentially people going next door, getting drunk, and then coming to you and getting, you know, cannabis and getting high and having that sort of dual effect on themselves and the hazard it would create. I mean, Spenard is already a dangerous road for traffic. There's just a lot of issues, and it feels really concerning that that's the choice that I get the regulation issue and the zoning issue, but that just doesn't seem like a safe place for our community members and for the patrons of the bar and your store.
Yeah, sure. I could more than happy to speak on that. We have addressed this concern, and in reality, we even currently within our own capacity, we are required by AMCO and any individual that holds a marijuana handler's permit has to be able to identify somebody that is under the influence of alcohol. Us being a store that is almost, maybe 20 more feet than the store that's across the street, because there's multiple marijuana retail stores that are right within the same walking distance of food. So I don't think that it's going to add to any more than that's already taking place. But therefore, we are enforceably, required to make sure that the person that is purchasing cannabis is not under the influence of alcohol. And that's something that AMCO has talked about, and I'm sure they have done. I forget what the technical term was from. It's almost like a sting operation. They send somebody in, underage or that might have been intoxicated and run these tests. And we haven't had any, we have had to turn away people that are intoxicated. And that's with us not even being, remotely close to a bar. But I feel that we're confident enough. I'm very confident in our staff that we'll be able to make those determinations and abide by the rules and regulations that sets forth, that we have to live under.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Fujimoto. Looks like you have your
Yes,
hand raised.
is this the store coming to my next door, Captain Sparrow?
No, this would be at the Coots property.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think the address is 2421 Spenard Road. Thank you. Phil has another question about just how much of the pot could be consumed in the Coots smoking area. Can you talk about that
Yes,
on-site consumption situation?
Yeah, so the on-site consumption, I was a little disappointed, and it's a little controversial issue that it went up to a ballot vote this last time. It wasn't. I think there would have been better turnout had it had been at the polls. But either way, there will be zero tolerance for on-site consumption, and that's strictly regulated, and that's up to us to enforce. And great relationship with Coots and their management to coincidentally work together on that. And they currently are enforcing it. How strict it is, I'm not security. I can't tell you that, but I know that on our behalf we will be enforcing that very strictly.
Okay.
We want to remain within the realms of the regulations. We've always done our best and done our due diligence to make sure that we're compliant, and that's where we stand. We want to represent the business as a whole within our business practices, and let people know that we're out here to be responsible and respectful, and not put any kind of public safety at risk with what we're doing.
Mhm. Okay, any other questions for Kirby?
I did want to touch on one thing that the community cleanup we actually host out here. Another thing that we do annually is Green Spring Cleanup, and that's just an annual event that we do within our own production company, and we get a lot of the community involved, and that's just something that we love doing. It's keeping our community clean. So we do that once a year in the springtime.
Mhm. Well, it looks like there's another question from Amber.
I just wanted a little more clarification. So I haven't been following along as well as I should have been, but is this for on-site consumption, or is this just a dispensary?
Just a dispensary. Yeah, on-site consumption did not pass. Anchorage, I believe that it is edibles only.
Okay.
No smoking. And I have yet to see an establishment go forward with an on-site consumption endorsement. So it would be another meeting and things of that nature to actually get one of those approved as well. So.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
Great, and Pamela, do you have a question?
I have a question for this gentleman. I would like to just clarify again. Did I understand you to say that you have a relative that has another cannabis establishment within the Spenard area? And if so, what location?
Yeah, that is not correct. It's just I don't want to, it's not a cannabis business. I'm not sure she'd be comfortable with me talking about her business here, so I'm not going to, but it is not a cannabis business.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, So a couple topics that I heard that we could potentially add to our concerns within our neighborhood responsibility plan is just to recognize that we have concerns about the handlers identifying folks under the influence of alcohol, and just making sure that's something that we could say is a concern. And we know that you'll be working to make sure that is not a problem at the business. And then also just adhering to the zero tolerance policy of on-site consumption, especially in Coots smoking area, as just a couple issues that the community has identified. And then typically, if we do hear concerns or issues, if once the license is approved and the business is in place, we use this neighborhood responsibility plan as a communications point so that we can reach out to Kirby, reach out and explain, here are the concerns we're hearing, what are the steps to take. It's really that type of a document to just recognize here are the issues, let folks know about that, and find a way to move forward on them. Does that sound good, Kirby? Just making a couple changes.
I did have plenty of time to review the document. Like I said, I think it's great to keep us accountable for how we are doing in the community. And you know, once every 3 months to attend a meeting is great. That's a great communication channel, and I will utilize that.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Kirby. And then Jed, do you just want to jump back on and address Pamela's question? I saw you also put something in the chat as well, but anything to say on the committee's behalf?
Yeah, thanks again, Kirby, for showing up. And I just wanted to add one other thing that's not directly related to what we all do, but there is currently, the Marijuana Control Board is considering a regulation regarding marijuana edibles. The current limit is 5 milligrams of THC per unit, and they are considering increasing that to 10 milligrams. And I'm going to put a link in the chat to the public notice for that and where you can submit your comments. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a lot of tabs open, and I'm going to move us into our last topic to Peggy Oth to talk about a draft letter about Northwood Park. This is an issue that Stan Jones brought up a few months ago, and I think he's still on the call. But I'll turn it over to you, Peggy.
Thank you, Lindsay. I have to admit, I don't have the copy of the letter here because I thought you would have it. I don't know if that would be a problem. I can go back in and look if you.
No, I can share the screen. Yeah, I didn't know you wanted me to pull it up.
Well, it's basically just so people know, Northwood Park was established as a secondary source for the kids over at Northwood Elementary to get out. They have one of the smallest, what they call footprints for a schoolyard in the entire bowl area. And so Northwood Park was set up as like a nature walk for the kids. And that was in the 80s. It's been severely neglected in the last several years. Of course, like a lot of parks, and I know people are thinking, what's the difference between the spruce bark beetle kill that happened here as opposed to the other parks? The difference is that we have a pond down there that AWW dumps water from Windermere and to filter it out to go into Fish Creek. And several years ago, over a several year period, as Stan Jones knows, we had a beaver problem, which dammed the pond and brought the pond level really high, the water level, which killed a lot of the trees that ring the pond. And then just sometimes the AWW just brings a lot of water down to the pond, and the water levels can go up a foot. So with all this over more than a 40-year period, it's really suffered a lot from loss of trees, and it doesn't even look the same as it did 5 years ago. I was on the phone in December rather, with Steve Rayfuse, who is the Parks Division manager. And he's been talking to Stan and myself about the denigration of the observation decks, which are falling apart. and the trees. And he suggested that the community council can make a request that they do some replanting of the trees that have been decimated, you know, over the years, to kind of make it look more natural the way it did when Bob and I first moved in almost 40 years ago. And it needs it. It looks sad. It's starting to look really sad in the park. So I drafted a letter and I'm asking the community council to approve it. And hopefully it will be put on the park list for replanting either this summer or next summer. So, you know, it doesn't really cost that much. It's something they do every year, but it's just first come, first served. And Northwood really needs the attention. So if you'd be willing to just give an okay to it, we can send this letter on to the Parks Department and be put on the list.
Thank you, Peggy. Are there any questions from folks? I'm going to stop sharing so I can see. I see support for the letter. We thought this would probably be like a, yeah, we support this. So move forward.
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Peggy. And I don't know if Stan is still on, but thank him too. He shared photos of the different platforms and things and the work that needs to be done there. So appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and look at the ballots being counted, and I'll share that after our community announcements. Right now, it's your time. We have a community announcements opportunity. And I will also say we have a number of candidates for mayor's office or school board who are often showing up to our meetings. And this is also the opportunity to share and introduce yourself, just a couple quick minutes. And one of my announcements on behalf of the council is that each year we put together a West Anchorage candidate forum, and we are doing it again this year. We don't have any assembly members running for West Anchorage, but we still want to have hyper-local West Anchorage issues asked to candidates for mayor and school board. So we are putting out just some save the dates for mid-March. But if you are a community member and want to volunteer and help create the candidate forum, we are going to be having volunteer meetings every Monday at 5 p.m. until the forums so that we can plan those out. So if you're interested, just write your name in the chat or send an email to spenardcc@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that you have the Zoom information to get on those planning meetings. So that's why we don't have candidates on our agenda, and we ask for them to participate in our announcements. So announcements are for everyone. I see some hands raised, so I'll go that route and I'll try to keep list as best I can. And I think I saw Renee's first. So Renee, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I am Renee Whitesell, and I work for Dow, and I've just come to visit the Spenard Community Council tonight to let you guys know that we are underway with the Chugach Way Area Transportation Elements Report. So what that is doing, it is looking at the Chugach Way area between Arctic Boulevard and Spenard Road. There are a number of plans underway to see that road converted into a street that functions for bicycles, pedestrians, and also motorized traffic. And I just wanted to quickly show our project website for you to take a look at it. The website address is chugachway.com. So hopefully that's easy for you all to remember. So I should have that screen share available now. This is our project website. We have the ability for you to contact the team through the We Want to Hear From You tab. And our study is focusing on the area that I'm showing on the screen on the website. We are completing this work on behalf of the Municipality of Anchorage. So I'll just flick to the Contact Team tab. And our Municipality of Anchorage project manager is Steve Tobish, who I think is listening in on this meeting. Michelle McNulty is the planning director over at the municipality. She's helping us out as well. And also on the team is CRW Engineering, and Addison Spafford from CRW is listening in as well. So we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Renee, and we will have you for the next month so that we can ask lots and lots more questions about Chugach.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep moving down my list, and I've got Rosemary, Alicia, and then Amber, and then Kelly. So Rosemary, welcome.
Hi, I am a longtime Spenard resident, moved to Turnagain, but still have property in Spenard. And I became aware of the fact that planning and zoning is planning on changing Title 21 to allow for transient shelters in any B3 property, which I think could just be devastating. They are removing the safeguards that they have put into place with planning and zoning. There is a hearing March 1st on this. I encourage everyone to look at this and let your people, let your representative know, and speak up to planning and zoning if you don't agree with this. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Rosemary. We had somebody present on that topic maybe a month or two ago, and so we didn't take a position, but we do have the recording on our YouTube, our website, if you want more information on that too, for anybody.
If I can just add a PS to that, I saw that presentation, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. The effects of that, he made it sound very benign, but it's not benign. And I just encourage people to look at what's out there, and that's all.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Alicia, Amber, and then Kelly, and then Tani, and then there's maybe more. But for now, Alicia, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's see if I can figure out how to lower my hand here.
You're good.
Hi, guys. My name is Alicia Hildy, and I'm currently an Anchorage School Board member, and I'm running for re-election. You'll remember that Anchorage School Board members represent the entire municipality, so you'll have 4 seats on your mail-in ballot this year, and I'm running for seat E, which I am currently sitting in. And I'm an attorney. I have a master's in public policy and law and economics. I'm very focused on, cost-benefit analysis when making decision-making. What's the well-reviewed research, and then just really listening. I love getting out to community councils. Zoom is making this fabulous because you guys are my 3rd community council tonight. So it's really good to get to listen on different devices. But when I ran 3 years ago, my focus was on long-term financial planning, on teacher retention, and on student achievement, improving our student outcomes. So over the last 3 years, I've really worked on financial planning. We've moved to multi-year bonding. This is a common practice in the lower 48, something I'm very passionate about, and my board's been supportive of. So you won't see a school bond on your ballot this year, the first time, right? Last year, you guys approved a multi-year bond. So thank you so much for that. The benefit that we're capturing is right now, all those people who would be working on bonds, that time and money spent on that is now being spent on pandemic related things to make sure our schools are ready and safe for kids to come back. So we're so excited to have them back. But it's been a huge amount of work, and we had those resources available because those people could be working on that. In the future, those guys get to work on academics, right? They get to focus on student achievement and really helping kids in the classroom. All that time and money gets to be focused on children. As far as teacher retention, working with the state legislature on teacher retirement and working through some of the challenges we have with that and recruitment from the lower 48 and UAA's program closure and then now redesign. How do we attract the most high qualified teachers? We know that's a big component of student learning. And then student outcomes, of course, our board just passed our new goals focused on reading, math, and life, career, and college readiness. So that's what our community said you wanted to see happening. And I've brought a goal monitoring process to our board. Before we weren't tracking, most of you, if you have a large organization, you have your goals and you're tracking them every month and getting updates and things like that. So we really started that before the pandemic and isolating to see what's working, what's not, and how can we target resources to make sure all of our students are improving. We have a huge challenges coming up.
Thank you, Alicia.
We have Oh,
I'm
sorry, I
I'm
could
gonna
talk all
need a
night.
cut.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I could feel the passion, but I do need to rein it in. We're approaching our cutoff time, but we are going longer. So I'm going to turn it over to Amber, Kelly, and then Tawny, and then Renee. Amber, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that public testimony on AO 2021-13, which is turning the masks from a EO into an AO. Whatever side you're on doesn't matter to me. I just think we should all get involved, and we should really be supporting people that have disabilities. We should be supporting our kids that have ADHD, our kids that are autistic and have non-verbal communication that can't wear masks. I mean, we're going on a year. So I just really want to stress that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was a no vote on SB 56. And public testimony is Thursday at 1:30. So you can get on any of the state websites and kind of navigate through that. And I just love everyone so much. And I'm just really appreciative to be a part of this and to really navigate through the situation and all of this. It's also new for me. High school government is nothing on this. So thanks, you guys. I really appreciate everybody taking the time.
Great. Thank you, Amber. We'll turn it over to Kelly and then Tawny. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hold on, let me there we go, there's my hand. So my name is Kelly Lessons. I am a school board candidate for seat B. It is the 1-year seat. Normally we'd have 3 seats up for election this year. However, we have this 4th seat for a short 1-year term. I'm running for this seat as a parent in the Anchorage School District. I have a kindergartner and a 4th grader. And I, for the better part of the past 2 years and change, have been working with ASD to improve student outcomes by focusing on recess and lunch. I was the co-founder of the ASD 60 initiative, which made me the most, have received a lot of bipartisan support, right? Nobody's against recess or lunch. But it took a lot of tenacity, a lot of evidence, and ultimately, through the support of community members all around Anchorage, we got a wellness pilot established, and we had about 8,000 kids enrolled, and we were seeing some statistically significant results before COVID shut down. But that whole process of seeing this through showed me the importance of our school board leadership. And I think that became very clear over the past year as families like mine, like many of yours, have gone through COVID era Zoom school and just lots of uncertainty. Moving forward out of COVID, the district will be facing lots of difficult choices. Looks like our budget might be a little bit short up because of some federal funds, which is nice, but still, leadership matters. The choices that board members make on a regular basis, every week, every other week, they're making decisions that impact our families. So I invite you to learn more at my website. I'm going to drop that in the chat. Ultimately, I'm running to improve student outcomes by focusing on student wellness, student equity, and student learning. And that all is coming out of my experiences with ASD 60. So I'm just going to leave it there and leave my information in the chat box, and hopefully I can earn your support.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And Tawny, over to you.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that I work for the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness, and I'm not making a statement on their official behalf, but I would just like to address some of the concerns that were just raised earlier. And there are a lot of facts available and a lot of study and research already done. And I would encourage you to really get that information, both from our assembly members, but also you can go to our website, or you can send an email to us and we can speak to you and answer your questions about what it would look like to have a transient shelter in our neighborhoods. And as a community member, I just want to say that I think it's we need to deal with the issue of homelessness in our neighborhoods. It's why I got this job with this organization. And if we can't just keep having that not in my backyard attitude. So I'll put the information for the organization in the chat box. You're welcome to reach out to us, and happy to have a conversation about this more.
Great, thank you, Tani. I'm not seeing other announcements. So I have one before I give the election announcement. We heard from the Chugach Way study, and there will be more from that. We've heard the last few months about the Spenard Road rehab project, and there's much more on that. And there's also a Anchorage non-motorized transportation plan that I mentioned last month. It's really big and beefy. So I'm just letting folks know I'd like to convene a work group to come up with some draft comments on behalf of the Spenard Community Council for those 3 projects, maybe more. But we did that for the Metropolitan Transportation Plan 2040 and the Spenard Corridor Plan. We'd have a work group convene and talk with some of the engineers and folks on those projects. And so we'll be doing that for the Spenard community within the next month, because comments for the non-motorized plan are due March 5th. But just wanted to let folks know, it's again, if you please put your name in the chat, reach out to me by email, post on our Facebook page, whatever you want to do, we'll make sure that we can get you into those work group meetings, because those are also really important for us to keep things going between just meeting once a month. Cameron, he loves the work groups. They're so good. Transportation all the time. I love it. Okay, and so that's my transportation plug. And looking at the elections, I have looked through and verified different emails, and everybody looks good that voted. Thank you. We have the current slate of our current candidates all kept their seats, including those 3 auditor positions with Peggy, Tani, and Julie. So thank you, Amber and Jared, for running. That means please be in all of our work groups so that we can get you more engaged in the community council. And for everybody, there's a lot of opportunity for us to do a lot as a council. So thank you all for your interest and for being involved. And thank you all for voting and participating and being part of our local community. Any final announcements, questions, comments? Peggy.
Lindsay and everyone else, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I just want to give a lot of credit to Lindsay. She is working so hard. She is such a terrific leader, and the council is much more for the better. I'm so grateful. And everybody else, there is so much work to be done. There are so many plans coming down the pike. We have, as you saw earlier, the Chugach Way, there is the Spenard Road Corridor Plan, there's the AMATS non-motorized plan. There are a lot of avenues for people that want to be involved. So please listen to Lindsay, reach out to the council, and please join us. We would love your help. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Peggy. Thanks, everybody. I love the council, and remembered one last final announcement about the Spenard palm tree. If you were here at the happy hour before the meeting, you may have heard, but we have movement forward to bring the tree back to its home on 30th and Spenard. The property owner there, Cindy Berger, who owns the building that was torn down, that was the Paradise Inn, and the building next to it, has agreed to take on the renovation and remodeling and moving the palm tree back to that area. So coordinated with Jay Stange, we talked with all of the donors that contributed in the GoFundMe campaign 2 years ago to keep that palm tree in Spenard. So we'll be working with Cindy in the next few months to hopefully get that palm tree back up late summer or fall 2021, which is amazing. It's been laying for 2 years on the corner of Chugach Way and Spenard. And we'll probably have a palm tree raising party, and hopefully we'll be able to hang out in real life together, and there will be food and fun and all of those things with the palm tree. So that's some exciting news to share, and you can let folks know, and just recognize that Cindy Berger, we'll have her to our meeting to share more later on, but she's really committed to continuing to build our quirky, artful community that's really intentional. So I appreciate her stepping up on that. Irene.
Just unmuted. Hi, just a quick note on that. Boy, I appreciate that the executive committee will continue another year. But gosh, it sounds like maybe Amber and Jared would be perfect to be on a committee to kind of take care of that palm tree until it's up and we could have a celebration, because I know Amber's in the hospitality business and I love those restaurants. So anyway, that's kind of cool. Those are the kinds of things that make it fun to be in Spenard. But thank you, everyone. It's great.
All right, thank you. Movement to adjourn from anybody? Anybody?
I move to adjourn the meeting tonight.
Thanks, Irene.
I
Meeting's
second.
adjourned.
This is Peggy. Second.
Thanks, Peggy. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Hi, everyone.